So self-disclosure, does anyone self-disclose? Who's a clinician in here? Nice. Do you guys, who self-discloses? Yes, good. Self-disclosure is a skill. It's a technique and an extremely valuable one, right? Build connection, build rapport. That's huge in therapy. I have a patient, he recently got a DUI. Never had any history of anything. Such a great kid. Gets a DUI, comes into my office, defeated, right? Defeated. He's not making eye contact with me. He says how embarrassed he is, how shameful he is. Feels so bad he's putting his family through this. I'm a loser, I'm a failure. Right? So I look at him and I say, well, I was handcuffed by 2 police officers in front of my job at the time, while my boss was walking out with the kids that I taught, because I taught daycare, watching me get arrested. And he looked up at me and he's like, what? I was like, yeah, that's a true story. What's even like crazier about the whole entire thing is that that was for a warrant out for my arrest because I didn't go to court for a speeding ticket. That's it. That's it. Like, I didn't go to court for a speeding ticket. I had a speeding ticket. I was 20-something years old. I threw the tickets in my glove compartment, didn't realize that there was a court date on there, didn't go to court, got a warrant out for my arrest, and got arrested in front of my job. And my boss bailed me out. And a parent whose kid I taught actually was a cop and saw me in the holding cell and helped me get out so that I wouldn't have to go to population. And he looked at me, his whole body language changed. He's 23. I'm like, look, man, this is not the end of the world. It's not. It's not. It's going to get better. Have I been to jail again? No, that was it. I learned. I look at my speeding tickets now. I don't put them in the glove compartment. I make sure I don't have a court date. You know, I don't want to go back there. I learned. I grew from that. You can learn. You can grow from this. It's not the end of the world. You're 23. You know, providing relief and hope. Providing relief and hope. So important. And I think it's something that's not talked about as much. When I was in my master's, these things weren't really talked about that much back in 2010. They really weren't. Self-disclosure was talked about like as though it was like a negative thing. You know, don't self-disclose. It wasn't talked about as though it was a positive thing. And to be honest, today, I see these things, transparency, relatability, authenticity, self-disclosure, as the most valuable techniques as being a clinician and working with someone. You gotta be relatable. Now, do I have to go through the same exact thing that someone goes through to be relatable? No. No. But you know, we all have something to connect with, right? Also, teaching, letting your patients teach you, letting them teach you. That's another big thing. I've grown so much from all the people who I work with that step foot into my office. I grow and I learn and I let them teach me because I don't know everything. I mean, you know, I have people who come into my office, they don't want to leave. I'm like, you know, having to shush them out because they're like, just tell me everything, tell me. I'm like, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. I'm just a person just like you. Let them teach you. Not only does that build connection with the person who you're working with, but it also provides a shift in the dynamic. A shift in the dynamic, which is really important. Now, you're teaching me. You're teaching me. Tell me about it. I don't know, politics. I'm not really into politics. It's not my thing. You know, but that's what you're into. You want to talk about it? It's stressing you out? Teach me. Tell me all about it. What's going on? You're a Jehovah's Witness? I know nothing about that. Teach me. Tell me everything. I want to know. Because the more I know, the more I could actually better help you. Also, they feel more empowered in that moment. Again, like I said, they think that we're therapists, so it's like, oh, we're therapists. We should know everything. No, we don't. So now they feel empowered in that moment. Let them teach you. I had a patient, I used to work a lot in the drug addiction world, right? So in South Florida, lots of drug treatment facilities, and that's how I started my whole career. And they would give me a lot of males, young males, 18, 19, a lot of narcissists. Let's see, a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of ODD, a lot of borderline, and those are it's like my specialty. And I had an intake coordinator come into my office one day, and he was like, hey, listen, so we're gonna give you someone new. Okay, just to let you know, he has a Confederate flag tattooed on his arm and a bunch of white supremacist slogans, sayings on his body. Okay, sure. I will never forget him. I will never forget him. He taught me so much. He taught me so much about the world. He taught me so much about people. So much. That was about, oh my God, 15 something years ago. Till this day, actually, he contacts me sometimes. He's still sober, which is amazing. But I will never forget him, and I will never forget the growth that he provided me with. It's special. So, empathy. Empathy is another thing that I find extremely valuable, and I think we talk a lot about that as being clinicians. You have to be empathetic, right? For me, empathy is, again, not just an important skill, it is one of the skills. And not just empathy. I'm finding that in today's world, when I speak to people, I think we all have different definitions of what empathy means. I'm not talking about empathy with conditions. I'm not talking about that. It's very easy to empathize with people who, I don't know, are similar to you or who you feel bad for or whatever it is. It is not easy to empathize with people who actually have, I don't know, different political views, different this, different that. Then suddenly now we don't want to empathize. I'm talking about empathy. Right? One of the things that I often find also is something that to me is a bit of a concern in our practice is asking the right questions, or actually sometimes probably not asking the right questions. Asking the right questions. I get so many people who come to me who've been, this therapist, that therapist, all these different clinicians, right? And I sit with them and I'm in session. They say something to me like, oh, I used to do, I don't know, crack or had an addictive past or whatever it is, right? And that always kind of triggers me because I know a lot about that stuff and also specialize in it, right? But to me, I ask, do you watch porn? They're like, what? I'm like, do you watch porn? And if so, how much porn do you watch? No one's asked me that question before. Well, I'm asking you, how much porn? So they tell me, right? What kind of porn? Why is that important to know? Why is that important to know? That's so important to know. That tells me more information about this individual. That gives me more information so I can gather as much as possible to help this individual to my best ability. And if I'm uncomfortable asking certain questions, then that says something right there. It's not about us, you guys, in any way, shape, or form. It's about them. You got to ask the questions that maybe you feel uncomfortable asking, because you can miss something if you don't. And I'm not saying that we're perfect, we're going to get everything, because Lord knows I haven't, and I've been frustrated with myself because of that, which is why it's important to work with a team, right? but empathy to ask the right questions. So a lot of male patients I would get, and I had this one male patient back in treatment, a part of a gang, Hispanic culture, father not in the picture, mother not really there. His mom was this woman who lived across the street. And he had disclosed to me in the intake, in the bio, that he was sexually abused. Okay. So I remember when he disclosed that, he was really like, tense, guarded body language, not really wanting to, talk about it. So, hey, okay. But it's noted. I'm going to circle back at some point. So time goes on, build rapport. That was really the whole thing with him, was building rapport and trust. Huge. So we're in this one session, we're talking, and he looks at me and he goes, so what do you want to talk about today? And I'm like, you're asking me what I want to talk about? And he's like, yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm taking this opportunity. He just opened the door for me. I'm going in. So I remember you telling me that you were sexually abused. At this point, he knows me, so I'm sure he's not surprised that I went this route. So, he shakes his head, and I'm like, okay. When were you sexually abused? So he gives me the information, 7 to 13. By who? He tells me it was this adult male in the neighborhood that would come to his mom's house. Okay. So now, I'm sitting there and I'm doing it fast in my head. I'm like, okay. So I have a male who's 22 years old, who Hispanic culture, in a gang, sexually abused repeatedly from ages, let's say 7 or 5 to 13 years old, he said, and sexually abused by a male. Okay. Now I have to empathize. Because again, I need to make sure I'm asking all the right questions here. So now I have to somehow really figure out what it's like, as much as I possibly can, to be in his mind, in his shoes. That's hard. But as I'm thinking really fast, I'm trying to use empathy to do this. I'm going, okay, so if I had all that stuff that I just said, and I was him, and on the whole entire nine, okay, would I have any other thoughts? Would I don't know, would I have shame about myself? Would I be confused about my sexuality? I don't know, maybe, but I'm not going to know until I ask. So I asked. And that opened up a ton of other things that, had I not asked, we probably wouldn't have even gotten to, because he would have been perfectly fine going the rest of his time in treatment with not talking about that, I'm sure. Okay, using empathy, how to ask the right questions. Now, all of this has led me, I'm going to circle back to Florida. So Florida was where the individual therapy of my life process started, right? It's kind of where I started doing the work. So when I got to Florida, after I got sent to Florida, I went to Florida because of what was going on in my life at that time. It really was no different for quite some time, I will say that. The only difference was that I was partying and having a good time in really nice weather, right? Which, that was interesting. So that happened for quite some time. Got into a lot of different relationships. And by the time I actually went back to school, I went to like 7 different colleges. But by the time I went back to school, I went to FAU in Florida and got my bachelor's, was really when my mindset kind of shifted. At the time, I was dating this guy who I was with for about 5 years, who was like super smart, and would always get like A's. And that motivated me, because I never really got A's or B's or C's. I just kind of got D's and F's. But it motivated me. I was like, man, he's like smart. Maybe I'm smart. And so I actually studied and tried to actually get a good grade, which I'd never done before until this point, and got an A, which was the first A I literally had, like, in school. And at that point, I was like, damn, wait a minute, like, I might be smart. So then I would go again and study and get A's and all this stuff. So at this point, now I'm just motivated. I'm in school, I'm focused, I'm getting good grades, everything stopped, drugs stopped, partying stopped, all that stuff stopped. I then go and I get my master's degree. And at this point, I enter into another relationship, very unhealthy, abusive relationship for about 5 years. And at the time that I met this individual, obviously I had no idea what was going to transpire, right? But I was so focused in school and I was so happy that I was with him and was so excited and it felt so great that I wasn't really focused on anything else, you know? So time goes by, a lot of verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, a lot of codependency from me, a lot, like textbook. Like I would write his resumes for him and actually send them to the jobs and then apply to the jobs as though I was him so that he can get a job. That's how codependent. So I'm interning at drug treatment facilities at this point. I'm doing that, I'm running group therapy, I'm doing all these things, talking to all these people, learning all this stuff, growing. At the same time, I'm going back home to an abusive environment, highly codependent environment. It was a very wild time of my life. So this goes on for a while until we find out that he's actually abusing drugs. At this point, he was on heroin, and I was just really blind completely about the whole entire thing. So he goes to detox, and while he was in detox, he calls me and asks me to bring him his PlayStation because apparently a PlayStation's needed while you're in detox. So I go bring it to him, and his therapist wants to meet with me. He has a release, so he wants to meet with me. So I sit down, and his therapist is like, hey, so blah, just like, how are things going? Are you okay? So we're talking, and I start opening up, and I'm just like telling him what I do. And his therapist looks at me, and he's like, you know what you have to do. Like, you know. And so after that, that was it for me. That's all I really needed at that moment. I went into CODA, I went into Al-Anon, got back into therapy, found another therapist, right? Did all the work I can do, got a sponsor, worked the steps, did the whole 9, got strong with my boundaries, right? And eventually, thankfully, got out of that relationship. After that relationship, it was really just me kind of like continuing to build and grow and therapy and learn and evolve and all these things. I eventually end up contracting at a private practice. Prior to that, I was doing some director work at other treatment facilities, but I end up doing private practice as a contractor. And the woman who I end up working for is a spiritual psychologist. And she's a medium. She's a light worker. I didn't know what that meant before this moment. Like light worker, I didn't really know what that was. Medium, I was kind of like curious about it, but didn't really know, Spiritual psychology, I really didn't know much about. I was just kind of like, this is interesting. So she taught me a lot. I started dabbling more in the, holistic kind of spiritual field of things at this point. Not for myself yet, though. It was for everyone who I was working with, who I was helping. I would bring in shamans. I would work with the shamans very closely with my people who I worked with. I would speak to them just to kind of make sure that we're on the same page and kind of see how the progress is going. What I learned when I was speaking to them was I was like, damn, we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it differently. And actually, I really like the way they're saying it, to be honest, more so than even I was saying it. I was like, this is like real. This is life. So I did that. Eventually, time goes on, and I meet my husband, who's sitting right over there. So I meet my husband, who is very about the universe, very spiritual. He's a numerologist, into numerology. I didn't know anything about that when I met him. And he's all about love. Like love, like on a level that I didn't really even, again, like I knew, like logically, right? But like on a level that emotionally, I truly believe at that point, I did not understand. Like unconditional love for all people, no matter what. I learned so much from him in the beginning. We were dating, and I was just like, man, this is like so interesting. I've never met anyone like this. Like I've done so much work. I've had EMDR done on me, got trained in EMDR. I've had hypnotherapy done on me. I've had talk therapy. I've had all the friggin' CBT, RBT, DBTs, all the T's, you know? And I felt like it took me to like a good place. I evolved, I changed, I grew, but there was just something, there was something like inside that just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't moving. So when I met him, I learned a lot about energy, which is funny because I use that word so much now, but before meeting him and before meeting the spiritual psychologist, I really actually never used the word energy, and now I use it all the time. Energy. It was something energetic inside of me that just didn't feel like it was like moving. It felt like clogged, stuck, you know? So over time, we're together. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like, I really want to work on this like energy thing, right? I want to kind of see how that goes. So something he used to tell me a lot when we first met was, why don't you smile? And I was like, because there's no point of smiling if there's nothing funny. I don't understand why I need to smile if nothing's funny. And he was like, because it's just like nice to smile. And I was like, yeah, and I smile when something's funny. That's something's funny, I laugh and I smile. And I didn't understand what he was saying. But I took it upon myself one day. I had our daughter, we had a daughter, and I would walk her around the neighborhood. And I would walk around the neighborhood and I would just smile, which at that time was like so weird to me because one, I'm from New York, and two, I was just really guarded. So it didn't make sense to me, right? But I would smile and it felt uncomfortable. And then suddenly I felt a little like looser. I don't know, just like body loosened up. And then I would start talking to people, which that's like, I don't say good morning, never said good morning to anybody prior to meeting my husband. Not once. You can walk by me and there's nothing. You're not getting anything from me. And then I would just be like, good morning. And each and every time I did that, it was like, again, this like shift on the inside, like that stuck feeling I was talking about just started like moving. I gotta tell you, I felt amazing. I love smiling now. I love smiling now. I love talking to people. Then I changed the way that I walk. I used to walk really, 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 really fast. Again, New Yorker, you know, really fast on the subway. I don't have time for you. Don't look at me. And then, you know, I would just kind of start strolling, walking slow, looking at the trees, looking at the sky. And when I did that, again, that shift, but I started looking at the world in such a different way. It helped me to be able to see things that I really wasn't able to see before. Like, damn, this world is like actually really beautiful. I had no idea. So After that, we leave Miami. We're in Miami. We leave South Florida. Why? Why would we leave South Florida? You asked that question. We left South Florida because of him. It's his fault. We left South Florida because my husband's from Rhode Island, and his businesses were in Rhode Island. So we decided to move our family to Rhode Island. So we get here and create our life, do our thing. Now, my mother comes back into this story. So my mother contacts my husband. I think actually at this point it was like without me knowing, and she, I guess, broke up with her partner at the time. They were together for like 20-something years. Actually, he ended the relationship with her, and she calls and wants to know if she could live with us. So, short thing for a sec before I move on with this. While we were in South Florida, before we get to Rhode Island, my mom and I actually start building a pretty, like, what I thought was decent relationship. I gave birth to my kid. Who was there? My mom. My mom was there every day for 3 months, helped me, guided me. She was amazing. So we got close. I actually wanted to watch movies with her. I actually made eye contact with her, spoke to her. We hung out. It was cool. So I really felt like I was like at a good point with her. Cut to back in Rhode Island. So she wants to live with us. Apparently, my husband was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing, right? Like we have like a free babysitter." And so when he told me, I was like, I don't know. There was just something that I didn't feel 100% about, but I went with it. Sure, it'll be great. So a week before my mom gets to the house, I am like panicking. Now I have anxiety in general, but managed at this point. Suddenly, poof, anxiety symptoms come back. Spiraling thoughts, shortness of breath. Someone's like squeezing my bronchial tubes. I can't really breathe. Intrusive thoughts, like the whole nine. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, this has to be because my mom is coming to live with us. And the last time I lived with my mom was when I was 10. So she's scared. She's scared. She's scared. She's not feeling safe. She's not feeling secure right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. So my mom gets to the house, and I can't make eye contact with her. I can't look at her. I can't talk to her. I have an attitude. I'm like back in teenager form. Anything she says is the most irritating thing. It's dumb. Why did she say that? She's dumb. Like it was like everything. I couldn't. And I knew what was going on. So I started every night writing to my inner child because I was like, I gotta rescue her. I gotta nurture her. So I start writing to her every night. And then my inner child's writing to me. And every night, my husband's coming in the room, and I'm like on the bed sobbing. My mom's downstairs sobbing. He's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm just like, it's just like all this stuff is coming out. It feels so not good, but at the same time, so good, you know?" Now, interesting enough, prior to this, I had already signed up to go to Arizona to get trained in psychedelic assisted therapy. So I was already going to a very spiritual place where I was going to be getting my own ketamine doses and doing ketamine on other people. And so like all this stuff is happening literally about like 2 weeks before I go. So before I go, I would say 2 days before I leave for Arizona and do the ketamine, a big blow up happens with me and my mom. Because my mom is confused, right? Like we left Florida and we were fine. So she's like not understanding why it is that I am not responding to her the same way that I was when I was in Florida. Lo and behold, I then realized that obviously it was very surface in Florida, and I could do surface with her. Substance was a different situation. And it was hard for me to explain that to her because she didn't get it, you know? So anyway, we had a big blow up, and she sits down on the bed. We're sitting on the bed, and she passes me, gives me this right here. This is my copy, actually. She asked for a copy, but she gives me that. Now, what that is that is a journal entry I wrote when I was 13 years old, when I lived in Delaware with my aunt and my uncle. I didn't know that she had it. The only people who I knew had it was myself. I shared it with my dad, my sister, and my aunt sent me that. But her, I would never send anything like that to her. So I was so confused as to how she had it, but she had it. So she tells me to turn it over. So I turn it over, and on the back of it, it says 2018. And it's her response to me. Which, before I get to her response to me really quickly, what I wrote and what she saw, my mom tells me every day to keep up the good work. What does she mean by that? What good work? If I come home with a B in science or any subject, my dad will be happy and so will everyone else, but not me. I won't be happy. I know that I'll only get that B or A once in a lifetime. I sometimes get B's and A's here and there, but that just won't make me happy. Only if I can get B's and A's on every single report card I get, then I'll be happy. But I know it's not going to happen. What can I say? I'm not your everyday bright kid. I'm your everyday dumb kid who can't even come out with at least one good report card, who can't even go out because her grades are bad. Sometimes I wish I had different parents and aunts and uncles who really didn't care as much. But I know if I did, I wouldn't be learning a thing. So I should actually be thankful for my parents, which I am. It goes on. So when I turn it around and I read the back of what my mom said to me, it started with like, I think the first sentence, which is really what got me, was like, my sweet baby Alyea, I would never have left because your grades or anything else. I love you so much and have always loved you. And I just started sobbing at that point. Like my little girl, like all of us, my whole system. So after that, 2 days later, I go to Arizona. And I get 2 doses of ketamine done on me, one intramuscular and one troche. A troche is like a little sublingual, looks like a little sugar cube put in your mouth that dissolves. 2 doses, and my intentions for those doses were focused on my anxiety, being more present, my fear, because I used to have a lot of fear. And the journeys I went on were like incredible. In one journey, I actually like rebirthed my daughter, which was really amazing. I also realized in one of my journeys that I'm actually way stronger than what I thought I was. I didn't realize prior to this journey that I actually relied a lot on my father, who's a big figure in my life, and my husband for strength. And then I realized that it's always been me. It's always been me. I am strong. I am the strength. And then my mom popped up, and I just remember I was just staring at her the whole time. It was interesting because there was nothing like negative coming up. I was just staring at her, just admiring just like how beautiful she was, and so grateful that like she's my mom. That was it. I went back to the hotel that night and I called my husband, sobbing. I felt something that I've never felt before, and again, it was like this. I don't know, I can't describe it. It was like this, just like unconditional, just this intense, heavy, unconditional amount of love for just myself, for my family, for my mom, for like everything. I was sobbing. I was like, it was the most raw I've ever felt. It was amazing. It was beautiful. So I leave Arizona and head back home. And my mom and I decide that it's better for her to head back to Florida. Because at this point, I'm like, I gotta heal. You know, like I thought I healed, like I thought I was there, and then I was like, nope, nope, still more to go. As long as I'm alive. So she understood. She left. She moved back to Florida. So life is lifing at this point. We're going, right? And then the universe, who I love so much, I do. The universe comes and the universe is like, oh, we're about to really get in here, Alyea. We're going to do some serious work. So I end up getting insomnia for like 2 weeks. And I don't know if anyone in here has sleep issues or has fought with insomnia, but geez, I had no idea. No idea. Like now, if I get anyone who comes to my office and they're like, I have sleep issues, I'm like, that's the first thing we have to focus on. Like, we can't do anything else. Because that will change the game, your whole life. And I only had it for 2 weeks, which felt like an eternity. So my mom at this point actually comes to visit, thankfully so, actually, because I needed it. And I have insomnia, I can't sleep. And I can't sleep at all. What's happening is I'm laying in bed and I'm so tired, but I can't fall asleep. And every time I try to close my eyes and go to sleep, now my anxiety was going and my intrusive thoughts were coming. And now it was telling me over and over again, don't go to sleep. You can't go to sleep. What's going to happen when you fall asleep? Oh my God, you're going to go dark. What's going to happen? It wouldn't stop. I was also going to work during this time. So I was like a zombie. My mom was like, Jesus, you got to like really like do something about this. And I was like, I will do anything. I want to work. I'm working from like 10 to 6, going home, haven't slept, giving my daughter a bath, the whole nine, and then just repeat the next day. My patients are like asking me because they know, they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, actually guys, I'm like this insomnia thing, like, whoa. Very transparent. So I'm like, I'll do whatever it takes at this point. I don't care, whatever it takes. I contact a colleague and I'm like, first and foremost, I gotta go to sleep. I gotta go to sleep. There's other things going on here, obviously, but I gotta get some sleep because I can't function. So I get some trazodone just to help me go to sleep, which I don't want to be on, but I'm like, I gotta do whatever I need to do at this point. So I take it, I finally get some sleep, finally get some relief, and now I'm like, okay, now I can think. Now I can function. So I remember I have this person who I work with. She's Reiki certified, and she got trained by this lady she told me about. So we're in session one day, and I'm like, hey, the Reiki lady who you talked about, can I have her number? She's like, yeah. So I give her a call. I know nothing about Reiki at this point. I know nothing about it. I've just heard about it. I'm like, okay, it sounds cool. I want to get into it, but knew nothing about it. I didn't know what to expect. So I contact her and I make an appointment and I go to her office. I make an appointment for 1 hour, by the way, 1 hour. I go to her office, I walk in, and when I walk in, she has a drawing for me that she drew simply based upon my energy, because we didn't speak prior. I emailed her. And she shows me the picture, and she's going over it with me, and it's like a bunch of like objects that were like manipulated, like transforming it looked like, and then there was like this thing that was like elevating or like shooting up into the air, you know? So she's explaining it and she's like telling me that there's lots of just like transformation, like a snake shedding skin, and this whole night. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly kind of how I feel like right now. It's weird. I feel like I'm shedding skin. Like there's like layers of stuff just like coming off of me and I don't know what to do with it. So we talk. I get on the table. And she starts at my crown chakra. She's working there first, and I feel the heat. And then suddenly, I'm getting these memories pop in, which is wild because my practically whole life, I'm 43, you guys. Just to give you a time frame, I've been working on myself for my whole entire life, just about. But all this stuff that I'm talking to you right now, this Reiki stuff, just happened 4 years ago. And prior to 4 years ago, I need you to also understand I had no memory of my mom. None. No good memory, no nothing. My mom wasn't at my high school graduation. My mom was at no events that I had. At my college graduate, nothing, okay? So I'm on the table, and these memories start popping up. There's a memory of me in middle school getting ready for a party or this like dance. And I guess my mom stopped by to help me get ready and do my hair. And I wouldn't let her. I was like treating her like crap. I was so annoyed she was there. I kept pushing her away and she wanted to help, but I wasn't letting her. That memory popped up. Then a memory of my high school graduation popped up and she was there. I'm like, wild, right? So she's there. And all these other memories where she's there. Like I'm like seeing her there. So that happens. Then my grandfather comes through, which was amazing. And Carrie, who's the Reiki lady, she looks at me and she's like, hey, I have someone coming through. Do you mind? And I'm like, no, let's go. So she's like, well, there's a woman, but there's a male that just came in. He just pushed her aside and connected to your mom in some way. So at this point, I'm like, it's got to be my grandfather. And Carrie looks at me and she says, he wants me to tell you fishing. And I'm like, fishing. Did I fish with him? Did we fish together? I have no memory of that. And then it dawns on me that the day before I'm at this Reiki session, my husband, my daughter, and my father, who my grandfather and grandmother loved, they all went fishing together, which is also like random because like we're not people who just like go and fish, you know? But they just so happened to go fishing. Then she gets to my core, my solar plexus. And when she got there, my 10-year-old self, which I still see very vividly even as I'm talking about it with you right now, my 10-year-old self pops up. I see her with her just like, she looks like my daughter, actually, it's wild. She's so cute, she's so vulnerable. She's got curly hair and she's looking at my adult self and she's looking at my adult self really like through my eyes. And over again, she kept saying, Mommy always loved us. Mommy always loved us. Mommy always loved us, over and over and over and over again. I lost it. I've never experienced like actual like body, like, you know, like really like body symptoms in terms of like releasing trauma, you know? And on that table, it was like I was having a seizure, like convulsions. And Carrie looks at me and she's like, do you want me to stop? And I'm like, no, mm-mm, mm-mm. I walked out of that Reiki session mind blown. Mind blown. I get home, I tell my husband all about it. We're processing it. We're talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, like I think my mom was around for like way more than I even thought that she was or even knew that she was. Like she was always there, apparently. I was just pushing her away this whole entire time. I had no idea. And this whole time, I've been doing so much work on myself. And again, like I think it was definitely needed and necessary, right? It led me to the place where I got to. So I had to do all that, you know? And a lot of my journey, a lot of my work was really my adult self helping and being there for my little girl self, right? Nurturing her. But then after that session, I realized my adult self, though, has no memory of my mother when I was younger. No good memory, no anything. But my little girl self does, because she lived it, she was there. Yeah, my mom left, but she didn't like leave. She was in the Bronx. We were in Westchester. It's really not that far. She came over all the time. I never remembered that, but my little girl self did. So apparently she needed to be the one to tell my adult self, hey, girl, mommy's always been here for us. I didn't realize that I needed that. So that happened. After that, I dove really heavily into like Buddhism. I have a friend from Laos, so she would take me to the temple, which was beautiful. I did a lot of chanting daily, a lot of meditating daily. And that feeling I was telling you about earlier, that shift, that like energy shift, oh my gosh. I never knew what it felt like to like feel free. Like I can't explain it any other way. Like body wise, just like ah. So everything that I've been through, I use as a clinician, and I now see things very differently. I see things very differently. In my practice today and what we do today, we do a lot of clinical and holistic stuff, which now I'm like has to be done. Has to be done. I get so many people come into my office who also have been to therapy for like their whole entire lives, you know? They've done a lot of good work. And I'll challenge it sometimes, but like some of them have really done a lot of good work. And they still have that they're like, I feel like I'm not like moving anymore, you know? And I'm like, I get it. Let's do something else. Open-mindedness. Again, I always thought I was an open-minded person. I didn't realize though that I don't think I was as open-minded as I am today. Today I'm like, I'll do anything. You want me to walk on fire? I'll walk on fire. If you're telling me that this is a technique and an approach that's actually going to help someone tremendously, also help myself, I'm doing it. And not only I'm also making sure that I do it, because if I'm going to tell my patient that I'm working with to do it, best believe that I've also done it myself. I can't be a hypocrite. I'll do whatever. Open-mindedness, big one, right? People come into my office, have all different types of thoughts, all different types of values, all different types of everything. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about that stuff. I'm not here for that. You're a person just like me. Let's get into it. So, I hope in this talk, I don't know, you guys got something out of it. I hope you heard something. And maybe if you haven't tapped into certain things, I hope that it kind of makes you think, maybe I need to. If you haven't, I don't know, researched other techniques and forms of therapy and done other things, maybe after this you're like, you know what? I'm gonna look into that ketamine therapy. You know what? Maybe I'll get it done myself. With that, I thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And that is all. Thank you.